Hi, internet friends. I'm trying to be sexy like Grace. Can't quite pull it off. Oh, Patriarch Krill, show me the money. I want to break up. This is my next series I'm doing. I'm just throwing them up while I'm doing my stuff on the High Court. That's going to follow very soon. It's not going to be flash, the High Court, what happened, lawyers. Very interesting though. Recorded calls, recorded video Skype calls. You're going to see a major instructing solicitor, very high level, saying how shit scared he is of Israel. That's gold. They took $3,700 out of that. Another $4,000 went to the lawyer in thing. It was a disaster, but that's another story. And we're going to talk about that in the next video, the next couple of videos away. But for now, I want to start smashing into Russia. I want to smash this ridiculous narrative about Syria, Assad, Russia in as short a time as possible. Let's start with Kirill. What a Oh God! Sometimes I go to speak and I'm like, oh, I can't believe it. It's too hard. I have to do a proper video. It's too complicated because if people haven't got it by now, how will they ever get it? And I realize it's because there's vast amounts of time, energy, and money being spent by Russia pushing this bullshit online. They have armies out there and they're working with Israel. But let me tell you something so simple. Patriarch Krill, who many of you adore, I was training to be a monastic in the Russian Orthodox Christian Church under the then abbot Alexis Rosenthal. He was 17 years the abbot in Jerusalem, whatever it was. The Holy Transfiguration, which I have a lot of videos of. I can never remember how to spell monastery. That's Massachusetts, one Blue Mountains. I can tell you some very interesting stories about the Russian Orthodox Christian Church. You think the Vatican's corrupt? You think it's any different in the Russian Orthodox Christian Church? The Holy Transfiguration Monastery is a male monastic community by the Russian Orthodox Church, founded in 1982. It's the rugged valley in the McLaughlin River. It's quite beautiful. And yes, that's the only picture there. I have pictures. I'll show you it later. But just to let you know, if you know your religious stuff, I am a Catholic, confirmed, baptized. I haven't been to a mass for 30 years. I was so disgusted. When I went to go here, I couldn't go in. After 30 years, I finally went to mass and I couldn't get in because of my shorts. I just went, I'd give up. That's it for me. I was to be welcomed into the Russian Orthodox Church with oil. I was actually going for a full baptism. The abbot, just to let you know, so you understand, I'm not just someone who hates Russians irrationally or something, that I was to be allowed to stay over the Great Lent period, which is unheard of. No one is allowed to stay, only the monks and the trainee monks. The abbot considered, he says, I'm considering you're allowed to stay over the whole Great Lent period. And I went, oh, cool. And I contacted a friend. They said, what? That's impossible. No way. They never do that. Not even, especially for a Catholic. And as it was, I stayed a week into it and then I left with the priest who was being trained there. Nice guy, nice Russian guy, Russian Australian, originally from Russia. And I have a whole bunch of photos and I'll show them later at another time. But I'm just letting you know. So I was to return after Great Lent to resume some training and start just starting there as a guest. And it's hard. It's a hard routine there. You're up at 4 a.m. for services. It's a long day. I'm telling you now. So if you think monks are just lying around having a grab now, time, think again. It's you want to sit with Father Serge singing, who has the voice of an angel, at 4 a.m. in the morning, in a candlelit, dimmed room with beautiful icons, and you try and keep your eyes open. It's not easy. Anyway, just so you know. So anyway, I didn't go back. It's for my own reasons. But Father Alexis Rosenthal, very interesting man. Definitely a holy man, although he'd probably slap you for saying that. But he knows. He knows what the mysterium conjunctia, the mysterious connection is. He knows what the Godhead is, and he knows that the temple is the body mind. Very interesting fellow, very well versed on multiple levels, on all sorts of things, including Jung, dreamwork, the whole range of things. But he's obviously very traditional, which is the whole point of the Orthodox Christian Church, or Russian Orthodox in particular. So with that in mind, let's talk about Kirill. I guess if I told you he's a billionaire from tobacco and alcohol taxes, you'd laugh. I want you to know that if Pope Francis was a billionaire, personal money, not money for the church, personally a billionaire from taxing, let's say, wine and tobacco and oil, what would be the response? We're talking Armageddon online. We're talking daily updates. We're talking front page of the New York Times. We're talking. I first heard about this in 2008 when I was first warned about Putin and his KGB background and that of the then Metropolitan Patriarch. I've forgotten his name. Was he in then or not? I can't remember. Anyway, you think I'm joking. This is easy to find stuff, and there used to be a lot more articles about it. Now, this calling him the Tobacco Metropolitan from his days as the Metropolitan before he became the Patriarch, this was a matter that was notorious in the church. I'm not telling you a state secret. It's not fake. They reduced a vast number of the articles that were out about it originally. There's only one original one that I can remember finding when I first looked it up after being at the monastery. The man is a personal billionaire. It said he has, I've never confirmed this properly. I've never heard this from the church, but it said he has a fondness for gambling. He has a Swiss apartment and many other things. Now, I don't know. I'm not willing to comment directly on those. That could be propaganda, but it wouldn't surprise me that it's true. Because given what I know to be true, and very sure I'm true, it's never been denied. And in fact, he likes to wear a $30,000 Swiss watch, which was airbrushed out of embarrassment. You're going to find he's more corrupt than the Vatican. You're going to find the Russian Orthodox Church is almost an organized crime outfit filled with gangsters. Because let's face it, that's what Putin is. All right? But it still doesn't mean the church is beautiful. And if you've ever been to an Orthodox Christian service, you should go. And a lot of the Russians, they'll actually sing the service. It's beautiful. When you taste the bare, almost Freemasonic style of a New Age Catholic Church post-Vatican II, it's dead, sterile. They used to look very similar to the Orthodox. Remember, the Catholic Church, Universal Church, was originally the Roman Patriarch of the Orthodox Christian Church before they split in the 11th century. So it's been totally changed and subverted, obviously. So I have to tell you that the Orthodox Christian Church have done some of the most beautiful services and have some great traditions. In fact, before Islam came along, the actual prostrations was what the Orthodox do. The Orthodox do it around Great Lent. They do a lot of prostrations, and that's where Islam got the original prostrations from, touching the head to the floor. Except we don't do it year-round at this stage. So there's many, many similarities between Orthodox Christianity and Islam, as there probably should be, because it's come from the same region, same source. But let's look at the Patriarch. This is my favorite one because this is one of the original ones that's been around a long time. Rocor history. Why Patriarch Kirill was called Tobacco Metropolitan. You ready? Many Westerners know little about the new Patriarch of the Russian Orthodox Church, Father Kirill. Now, this article was around 2000. This is very old. It's been redone. It's hard to find a lot of the old articles. Many Russians know him as a great orator and host of a weekly TV show, Pastor's Word. However, very few know that Kirill, his real name of Vladimir Gundiev by passport, a billionaire and a former KGB operative, made his fortune in tobacco, alcohol and oil sales. His activities were among the main reasons why not-for-profits in Russia lost tax-deductible status. The new Orthodox leader is fond of playing with stocks, car racing, downhill skiing and breeding exclusive kinds of dogs. He owns villas in Switzerland and a penthouse with a view of the Cathedral of Christ the Saviour in Moscow. Why don't you go read that yourself? Kirill's colleagues and competitors linked all his travels to his work for the Soviet KGB, where he was known by nickname Mikhailov. Starting in 1972, Kirill Gundiev Mikhailov became more involved with the countries of the Middle East. In 1975, at a forum in Nairobi, he defended the Soviet Union and downplayed dissidents' letters by making historic claims that people of faith were not persecuted and there were no human rights abuses based on religion in the Soviet Union. Killer's progressive, well, progressive for an Orthodox. Kirill is progressive, speaks foreign languages, worked in the issues of unarming the USSR and the US, and advocated usage of the modern Russian language instead of the Old Slavic during the services. So that's like the ancient Latin Mass versus the new Mass in Catholicism. In 1991, the year the Soviet Union fell apart, he earned the title of Metropolit. The new era of capitalism brought new achievement to Metropolit Kirill's life. In 1996, Kirill became a board member of Bank Peresovit, that is responsible for servicing the financial interests of the Russian Orthodox Church. The 1996 September issue of the Moscow News reports that Kirill, now for 2 years, had been organizing imports of highly taxable products, mostly tobacco, under the tax-exempt non-profit banner of the Orthodox Church. The claims were supported by other respectable news sources, including the Moscow Komsomolets. The soon-to-be patriarch confirmed the import of the highly unchristian products. By 1997, Kirill admitted the import of alcohol and tobacco, but claimed that the Russian Orthodox Church could not refuse the humanitarian help. The Russian Orthodox Church and Kirill's private foundation, Nika, were not-for-profit organizations, and in 1996 alone, they imported 8 billion cigarettes to Russia. Kirill's church, in quotation marks, business took off like a snowball as the legal competitors could not compete with his low prices. It's low prices down at the Orthodox Church, ladies and gentlemen. For tobacco and alcohol, the importers were naturally pushed off the market as they could not match Kirill's prices. Now, you knock yourself out. Just do your own searching. Sorry, I have a few problems getting my picture across. You can just go, I just Google these up in 5 seconds. You're going to say you don't like these ones. This is the old Guardian. This is from 1999. Patriarch Kirill. Just League of Ukrainian Canadian Women. So, Ukrainian Eastern Rite Catholics probably got a big. So these things aren't necessarily objective or central. They've even got an interesting one in Breitbart. They have a go. But I've got no problem with that article. It's content. Though I have heard that a lot of people say, no, Putin's for real, a real Christian people, whose opinion I trust. Putin runs the Russian state, blah, blah. Just go and have a look. I'm just going to leave it at that. And, the crap they say about Pope Francis. I've heard stuff like he says, I'll just give you an example about Pope Francis. It's not about defending him or being paid by the church. It's just the ridiculous one-sided of the narrative. People were saying that Pope Francis was changing the Lord's Prayer, and people were having fits. All he said was what we've all been doing for years. We don't say, Lord, lead us Lord, do not lead us into temptation. Well, it's cute. It's ridiculous. Why would God lead you in temptation? So you say, Lord, lead us when in temptation. This minor change, which makes obvious sense, was put out that he was changing the Lord's Prayer and was the devil himself. I've never seen so much bullshit one-sided reporting in all my life. He has said some things I don't like. He's also said some things I really like. I think he's quite good. But I got to tell you, I haven't had a really good look. I want to actually read quotations before I make a comment. There are some things that concern me, some things that don't. It just depends. But the point is balance. It's just this reactionary foaming at the mouth, lack of objective analysis, or trying to be objective. There is no objectivity when it comes to Syria at the moment. It's a joke. It's a joke. There's things that aren't. I'm actually going around watching the various stuff. It's the same old shit. I've got this side saying their shit, and I've got our truth movement side saying this, just the opposite shit, and it's still shit. For instance, everyone goes on about the white helmets. Oh, they're obvious frauds, blah, 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 blah. It didn't really happen. The white helmets are frauds. Well, yeah, you're right. They're obvious frauds. They're so fraudulent and so ridiculous. Why would they even put that out unless they were trying to completely humiliate themselves? So my answer is Cubono. Who benefits from this white helmet? Well, who's doing the video? That Mimi put up a video which was supposed to be someone snuck a camera to video the white helmets faking a chemical attack and having the cameras. But it's clearly just the opposition, Assad side, doing their own little faking of a white helmet thing. They're all as bad as each other. And it starts with the fact that we can't even get basic things right, like the fact there have been no elections. They're not democratically elected. They're brutal thugs, all right? Just like everyone in the damn region. You've got no problem going on about Saudi. Would you call Saudi brutal thugs? They do things I don't like. Let's be frank. All right. But there again, have you looked at the US system? Do you want me to tell you about what I went through in my own criminal justice system in Australia, in Western Australia? I was beaten by prison officers organised through organised crime contacts. I walked around with a badly broken arm, going, my arm's broken, you're fine, it's a bruise. What, is that any different from what goes on in Saudi? Do you want to start collecting details of the corruption and murder and police dealing drugs? Stagno Kovacs Namovsky murder case, we'll be talking about that one. Drug dealing, police murdering people via their informants. Well, let's talk about that. So we could go on and on and on comparing. The point is, there's no objectivity at all. I mean, at all. It's a joke. We've got one side over here and we've got the reactionary other side over there. And that's just the way our masters like it. Polarization, no one talking. So if I question Assad and his role, oh my God, you work for the Saudis. Everyone switches off. That's called polarization. And I say, excuse me, no, I need you to listen. No, he works for the Saudis. If I criticize Trump, I work for Hillary. If I criticize Hillary, I work for Trump. If I criticize the Saudis, I work for Iran. Do you see? That's polarization. No one can talk so we can get at the facts. You're not meant to get at the facts. All right? You're meant to just be destabilized, going round and going round in circles, repeating narratives you don't even know. You're not even thinking for yourself. You're not thinking for yourself. Here's a question. Why would the so-called white helmets make fools of themselves with obvious fraudulent crap made up videos? Why would they do that? Who benefited? Well, Assad benefited. So why wouldn't Assad create that whole narrative? Or his side, Iran, Russia and Assad, create that narrative? There was no chemical attack. Nothing even happened. Was the video footage from that area even? Was it from that area? They could have made that in any area, put some old footage from that area, gone and done it in Damascus with their fake fallings overs and that, and then said, oh, here's the white helmet footage. And you'll go, oh, those white helmets are such frauds. But it's Assad doing it the whole time to get credibility. That's another narrative you might want to think up and think about. Why don't you use your freaking brains? And I know most of the people watching this, you already get this. We got to build a team, and we've got to get moving. We've got to get to a point. I need to get to a place where I can work from. And unfortunately, I was hoping Malaysia is it. I don't know yet. Trust me, ideologically, there's no problem with me. But there's a lot of complications to do with Israel moving into the region, China, and it's really complicated. And there's elections on. Malaysia's under a lot of pressure. And Malaysia's one of the #1 enemies of Israel. And they're going to get caned. They're being threatened. Because Saudi's been so cowed over there by Russia's move in. Anyway, I hope this just makes you think just the tiniest little bit. Just the tiniest little bit. And then in the next video, well, I'll just do it now. See, I can never decide. Should I make them short? In the next video, we're going to talk about Igor Sechin and Rosneft and ask you why you couldn't find this material. All right? You're going to have to ask yourself why you couldn't find this material. Why your received alt media messiahs have not breathed a word about this easily obtainable information. That takes effort. It's not an accident. They weren't distracted. That takes effort. That takes a lot of effort. So in the next video, we're going to talk about Putin, Igor Sechin, and Rosneft. Now, this is worthy of a professional level documentary. At the moment, I don't have that. Well, I do have time, it's energy. I'm just like, but it needs to be done properly. Until then, just go and look up Patriarch Krill. Patriarch Krill, KGB. Tobacco Metropolitan. Till then, just do that and look it up. And ask yourself why the hell no one tells you about the past of our KGB patriarch in the last two. And there's also one last thing. There is some I had a friend who was at the... I can't remember. Anyway, Justin was there when they dragged the bishop out and threw him out. That was when you had the ROC, the Russian Orthodox Church, and you had the ROKOR, the Russian Orthodox Church outside Russia. You need to understand that background. ROKOR, forced, forced, where is it? ROKOR, removing bishop. Anyway, the special interview with His Eminence. You really should watch these. This was about how the church was forced together. The ROKOR initially said, we ain't teaming back up, because Stalin ran the ROC, the Russian Orthodox Church, and the ROKOR was dissident based outside of the Soviet Union. And they said, we are not teaming back up with you and merging until the then then patriarch, I've forgotten his name, admits to being a KGB agent and repents for his past. He refused. And so has Kirill, has refused to repent, because they're very proud KGB agents. That's why they have Day of the Checker, and they're putting busts of Stalin up. Because the Soviet Union never went away. The beast's head was wounded as if unto death, but it was healed again, and the world went in wonder after the beast. Does that sound like the worship blind of Putin? You need to go. Interview with His Eminence, Metropolitan Laris, and Bishop Gabriel of ROKOR Part 2. But Lone Gunman put that up. Well, I'll be damned. That's interesting. And go and see the other ones in that series, obviously. And he'll tell you about the rumors about the church and a few other things. But there's another really good one. I'm going to have to find it another day. Where they were dragging do you know who the old believers are? This is what Putin did. The old believers, number one, they speak in the ancient Slavic. in their services. Two, they refused the reunification and said the beast was not dead, that the Russian government was still a Stalinist organ. And three, they refused the beast system. They said this modernization and getting everyone into the beast system. And Putin came out and said, there's nothing wrong with this electronic stuff and electronic funds transfer. And they were locking them up, doing very bad things. That's Putin. So it's just I put to you, Putin is just another Stalin. That's it. A literal KGB agent. He believes in the Soviet Union. He believes in his own form of communism or his own form of command and control. We've got Dugin and the Eurasianists. Do you realize that this whole One Belt, One Road project, right, was actually a Soviet era theme that they wanted to do? That's why Trump came out and said we wanted to dismantle NATO. That's the Soviet era dream. And then they were going to run all the stuff down through to the Channel Coast. When this is presented properly, and we haven't presented it properly, there's a bunch of us from all walks of life. There's even some white nationalists in there. Okay, so we're not, as long as they're not race haters, I'm willing to talk to anyone if you understand the principles and you want to get together. And that includes Jews, like Jeremy. And I've copped some flack. It's ridiculous what people are saying. The guy's a legend. He's done more than most. All right, let's judge people by their fruits because they don't want us getting together. They want us polarized. So Jews and non-Jews never talk, never get together because that's what BB wants. That's what our masters want. They don't want us talking. And I know you understand that principle. So we've got to stop letting them polarize us. And remember, Yuri Bezmenov, one last one, just for someone if you don't know, you've got to watch everything. I used to watch all this stuff years ago. Then it was sort of, that's Yuri Bezmenov. Watch his stuff on destabilization. Adam Curtis, of course, the classic Adam Curtis, hypernormalization. This is KGB era Soviet Union tactics. The war is not meant to be won. Another simple question about Syria. When the Russians came, and remember when you all said the war's over, and I'm on the record as, and I'll quickly show you something, the war ain't over. Be very careful. This was over a year ago. I said the war ain't over. Anyway, it ain't over. It's still not over. It's going to keep going because if Putin really wanted to win with complete air supremacy, and you've got the Sunni militias or ISIS and the Sunni militias with AK-47s and white pickup trucks, and they still can't win, doesn't that not tell you this war isn't being won? It's about heating things up and preparing for all sorts of things. When no one knows what's going on, there's all sorts of chess pieces being moved in the background. But it's time that Putin was booted out. It's time the US reinstated itself in the region. And we're going to end on one final thing about the whole Syria thing and why people you're not thinking. Russia is removing the US from the Middle East. Watch this, just this short extract. You know, it's Friday night here. It's 10:03 p.m. It's the 28th of July. Watch this.
Мы развиваем свой ядерный комплекс сдерживания.
This is from 2008.
Недавно провели испытания новых систем баллистического оружия.
Oh, shut up, Putin.
В позапрошлом году успешно
Putin's still going on about his amazing Russian systems. They're a joke. They're a joke.
проведены испытания таких боевых комплексов, которых пока нет, и вряд ли раньше нас появятся на вооружении других стран мира.
That's why they got to steal it all and run it all through Israel to get all those weapons technology, stealing it off the US.
We could see the world in 5 or 10 years when the Middle East is dominated by Iran, with Russia in background.
Well, Russia's not in the background. It's right there.
When Americans are pushed out, humiliated, kicked.
I don't know how much more obvious it has to get, exactly. That was from 2008, and 10 years on, where are we? Where are we? You're going to have to start rethinking. I haven't got the narrative fully right in my head, but I know one thing. Putin's full of shit. All right? He's not there. That Soviet base has been there a long time. People don't even know that Syria is 80+% Sunni. You don't even know that back in 2008, 2010, there was a genuine Sunni pissed off. They are sick of getting their fingernails pulled, sick of making $200 a month. Okay, do you understand? It wasn't the paradise they were telling you. Nobody wanted ISIS to run around chopping heads. That was Israeli military intelligence. Obama didn't do it. Hillary didn't organize it. It was run by Israel and its private intelligence network into the US State Department. The hardcore Zionist Israeli firsters, scumbags. But Israel has the people on the books. They have the fluent Arab-speaking Semitic Arab Jews who go and pose, put on the beard and go, Allah Akbar, blah, blah, blah. All right, and then you go, oh my God, those Muslims are coming. No, that's crazy military intelligence getting these clowns to shoot up IV meth and just run riot. Now this is pretty simple narrative that shouldn't be too hard to grasp, and you need to start asking and pushing. And I'm going to be starting to do some interviews. I've been pretty fussy about who I speak to. It was probably a mistake. I should have spoken to Richie Allen. I should have done at the time, but I didn't, and there was reasons for that. But I should have done. But I couldn't care less about Richie Allen anymore. But I should have done. Rents wanted an interview, and I just can't stand that Yeti crap. And he's virtually almost goose stepping like a Nazi. But it would make sense to do a Rents. I don't think I can do it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't. And it's nothing to do with my friendship with Henry Macau. I know they had a big falling. It's nothing to do with that. I'd think about it because it's such an important issue to get out there. But I'm going to be doing an interview with a couple of other people soon, and I'm going to start pushing out the interviews. And I'll leave it at that. I want to get our own little cult happening, damn it. I need to get to a good place. We have a good little basic crew. No one's married. It's got Jews, non-Jews, Muslims, Christians, communists, even some white nationalists. All right, it's a whole range. But we all agree if we want a ship to fight over before the drones come and the robots come, we better get busy and stop letting them manipulate us. We're getting manipulated daily. We need to start thinking, please. Okay, I'll leave it at that. I'm going to do another video very soon on Putin and Igor Sechin and Rosneft and why you've never heard about this. Many of you have, but ask yourself why the big old media players have never uttered this stuff ever. Coming soon.